Hi, and welcome back to Signal. Today's episode examines something that has become woven into daily life, though it rarely commands our direct attention. We are increasingly surrounded by systems that operate continuously and make decisions independently. They optimize traffic flow, coordinate logistics networks, regulate infrastructure, functioning without requiring human input at every juncture. This transition occurred incrementally rather than suddenly. It unfolded without fanfare and largely without prompting us to reconsider our underlying assumptions about control, responsibility, or the nature of decision-making authority. Today's discussion is not concerned with forecasting or moral judgment. It focuses instead on recognizing what is already present and examining several questions that have yet to receive adequate attention. Welcome to Signal. Enjoy. Happy New Year. Hope all of you had a good start to the new year. Stephen, how are you doing?
Good. Joel, Happy New Year. It's good to see you, my friend. And I hope that you had a good end of year and a great beginning of this next one.
Absolutely. I got wasted. I got drunk. And I don't, if you know me, you know I don't drink a whole lot.
You don't go heavy. You don't go heavy.
Boy, that's my weakness. Like I'm a part-time beer drinker if I do drink.
Yeah.
But one of the people at one of our friends at the New Year's party had, I think he brought 4 bottles of wine and 1 bottle of Mexican tequila.
Okay.
And it was just 3 people drinking. And let me tell you, the tequila was not done. Obviously, it was like 1/3, but the wine bottles were gone. So
there's a
January
saying,
1st.
Joel, there's a saying called wine before beer in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
Beer before liquor, never sicker. And so,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it's true, but when you're drinking, be mindful of what you drank first, because it could make you really, really sick. The combination could, and this is maybe a wives' tale, I don't know, but personally, we had some time together in Prague and enjoyed a few beers together. And man, those amber beers, those Koval amber beers those dark ones were really, really nice.
Yeah.
But I enjoy wine personally. That's my,
yeah.
And I don't really stray from, like, if I'm drinking wine and that's it. And I'm not going back and forth between. I might start with a cocktail, but it's very rare.
Yeah. I'm not going to ever do that again, but we were like 3 bottles deep, and then he said, oh, what's this? Oh, a bottle of tequila. Well, might as well.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Well,
so
hopefully,
let's jump in.
Hopefully it was a good morning after.
It was. Let me tell you, January 1st was a very slow day for your boy. It was a slow day.
Yeah.
It was a slow day, but it's all good. It's all good. All right, let's go. The first question is perhaps the most immediate and typically the first to arise when failure is secure. Historically, responsibility has been anchored to direct human agency. Someone executed a decision, someone engaged a mechanism, someone initiated an action. Autonomous systems, however, introduce separation between human oversight and operational behavior. Decisions are encoded in advance and subsequently executed on an ongoing basis without human involvement in each individual instance. What emerges is a notable discrepancy. Responsibility frequently remains assigned to individuals, even as the locus of operational decision-making shifts elsewhere. This creates a subtle but significant gap between perceived control and actual accountability. I have one story that might fit this pretty well. It's from August 25. So in 2025, a U.S. jury found Tesla partially liable for a fatal crash involving its autopilot system. What made this case significant is that the court didn't place responsibility solely on the human driver. Instead, it ruled that Tesla's driver assist system contributed to the accident and that the company bore meaningful responsibility for the system was designed and marketed. It's one of the first major cases where a court treated an automated driving system not just as a tool misused by a human, but as an active factor in the chain of responsibility. Spoke about Prague. When I drove to Prague, I took a rental car, which had like cruise control and automated distance keeper by I guess it's like a laser that goes out. And in Germany, a lot of times when there's construction on the Autobahn, you'll have the normal marking on the street is white, just white lines. But if there's a construction site, they put over it, if they have to change the lanes, if they have to make them smaller, go different ways, they put yellow lines on top. Those things go crazy when you go into construction sites because there's 10 different lines, and I guess it's colorblind or something because it's not finding the right ones.
That's
And
right.
so it yanks into the steering wheel when it
Hmm.
thinks, oh, we're going off track badly, which it wakes you up because you're like, good God Almighty, what's happening? But I mean, I've been in this whole liability or who's responsible thing. I'm in computer science. I think a lot and work a lot with AI. And I always found this discussion very interesting because, as I said in the beginning, before everything was sort of human triggered, every action, every decision was made by a human being. But now some of these things, especially in this case with Tesla, is at least predetermined and then always if you're into IT, if you know computer science, if you know programming, you know that there's always a situation that constitutes a decision. There's never anything by chance. It's always something programmed, implemented into the system that then triggers a response by the software, by the hardware in that case. What is, I mean, obviously we're not lawmakers or lawyers or anything, but your initial responsibility response to this court decision to at least find Tesla partially responsible in a car crash where I don't know what originally constituted that crash. It might be that they sort of, I guess, weren't as aware behind the wheel because they thought all that assisted driving is just going to take you to the promised land. But I think it's an interesting case to see how maybe the jurisdiction around this could change or just the understanding of the importance of automated systems in everyday life. What was your initial reaction to something like that?
Well, this is a classic example of technology and innovation driving policy. So what happens is, Tesla is a very, disruptive electronic vehicle platform. They've got a smarter car, it's more efficient, it's energy efficient, et cetera. Styled is very well as well. I mean, it's an attractive looking car, right? So they've created this platform, which is a magnet for automotive buyers, right? Which is, hey, I want to buy a Tesla. I want to be better to the environment. As the adoption for their product grows, they start
Hmm.
to introduce innovative technology like autonomous driving. Also, there's a bunch of safety features as well have been innovated by Tesla, which are really fantastic. So that feature you mentioned, that's, others like BMW and Mercedes are also, implementing widespread in their vehicles to prevent drivers from going off the road, or collision detection well ahead, and
Hmm.
auto braking and all those kinds of things are phenomenal. Backup assist, all those kinds of things are like phenomenal fail safes that automakers are building those into those vehicles. But I think what we're seeing with Tesla in this example is they decided to bring a disruptive, really a philosophically disruptive technology innovation into their platform. And then policy has to react to that product introduction. It was, I mean, if you think about it, right, there's a slew of others now that are following suit and trying to introduce autonomous driving into the market, but Tesla really kind of was the tip of the spear on this one. I remember when this first came to light, when they were introducing it, and there was a lot of apprehension, and precedes the litigation. And many were saying a lot. We've got to make sure this is safe. We've got to make sure that this is foolproof. And what about this situation and that situation? And so I do believe that Tesla as an innovator has to take responsibility for the introduction of such disruptive technology. But what they also have to do is work really, really closely with the regulatory bodies that govern safety for vehicles. And they have to work very closely with state, local, and federal government who help implement these standards. And so it's not just, let's create a great technology and implement it and see if people will use it and try to drive a revolution around it, which is what they're doing, really. It's how do I work this into society in a framework that will not put people at harm? So did they push the envelope a little bit too much? I think they did. And we all know from being in technology that nothing is perfect, nothing is bug free. And that's a scary thought when you're talking about implementing a feature in a car. Nothing
Yeah.
is bug free.
Yeah.
We write software, we build hardware for IT systems, and things happen. Things break, systems go down, and you're like, okay, well, nobody died.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, somebody died, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're at an intersection. There's a moral responsibility, there's a legal responsibility, there's a regulatory responsibility, there's a collaboration that happens between government and the manufacturer. Transportation is a highly regulated industry.
Hmm.
So when you introduce these new capabilities, this is not just, by the way, with cars. They have this with trains as well. And by the way,
Hmm.
if you've flown on an airplane, autopilot is a form of automation that enables the pilots to have a form of relief while they are
Yeah,
flying, and especially
and
long haul flights.
it's been around for a minute too. Autopilot
Yeah,
systems that
yeah,
really
yeah.
they land and they take off and they land, and in between, it's usually just cruise control. So you said it's sort of a different level of automation that we're seeing, because I mean, I just as you probably, I love good assisted driving systems where you have cruise control, lane control, distance keeper. I think it also, especially for not just electric, but also for cars that use fossil fuels, it can also be something for the sustainability. They get more efficient because they can regulate, like, because if you're in stop and go traffic, for example, having an automated distance keeper is great. But so you said it's a different level of automation. It's a different level of technology that's here. And I mean, I guess let's leave aside the question if we really see a possibility that people want to give up driving themselves
Hmm.
entirely in the future, like that's the future, like everybody's just gonna basically get into their own bus and just be taken somewhere. But if let's say this takes over and autonomous driving is the norm from now on, I with that shift in how we transport ourselves from A to B, not just that should change, but I guess also the liability question has to be asked completely differently. Because with assisted driving systems like cruise control, or I mean, if you let go of the steering wheel for longer than 5 seconds, the car will give you an alarm and be like, put your hands back on the steering wheel, because you could get a piece of mud in front of the sensor or the camera that we have, and then the system would be failing. So it's still up to the person to steer the ship, to steer the car, to make sure that you get from point A to point B safely. What I think this really is about is, I get the technology is, as you said, it's going to have its nicks and knacks and bugs. It's going to be developed. The question is, should we, and the question I ask myself really is, should we, I guess, I'm a socialist. I'm from Germany. That's what we do. I think we should regulate it before it's too late, before the market capacity by automated driving is that big that you really can't put a lock in front of it. Because what if, and we have another case by Waymo Robotaxi, another court case where, in this case, so let me read it. In California, Waymo has faced lawsuits following incidents involving its fully driverless robotaxis, including cases where cyclists or pedestrians were injured. What's different here is that there's no human driver behind the wheel at all. The legal focus shifts entirely to the company operating the autonomous system, its software safety protocols, and deployment systems. These case tests what responsibility looks like when a vehicle operates independently in public places and when no human can be said to have made the decision in the moment. In that case, okay, let's say I think there's also like some Jaguar taxis in New York or in somewhere. I've seen videos of like a Jaguar being a autonomous driving a cab. If so, one of those taxis kills a person, like it runs a red light or whatever, it doesn't
Who's
react
liable?
fast enough. He was liable in the end. The taxi, the autonomous driving system was liable in the end. Who's reliable then? Is it a company? Is it the head programmer? Is it whomever was in the responsibility to program that exact safety protocol that was gonna be in that case? Like, okay, if it's red, you stop. If it's green, you go. This sort of chain of liability, to me, should be decided before we even start having autonomous cars on the road, to get more acceptance into society about this. Because, this is big. Like, if there's no person behind the steering wheel anymore, like, who's to blame? And how do you find out? Up to this point, we've been talking about machines acting in the physical world, cars, roads, accidents, and how responsibility gets assigned when no human is making the decision in the moment. But this is only the surface. Because once systems stop just acting and start influencing, the question of responsibility gets much harder. That's where we are going next. Part 2, next week.